War drums are beating. With US warships deployed and Iranian missiles on standby, are we on the brink of war?
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, vowed severe revenge.
What's really driving the tension? And how close are we to a direct US-Iran war? Today, we're going to dissect one of the most dangerous geopolitical standoffs of our time. We'll explore the deep historical roots of this conflict, examine the military capabilities on both sides, analyze the flashpoints that could trigger escalation, understand the role of international players, and assess whether diplomacy still has a chance to prevent what could become a devastating regional war. To understand where we are today, we must first look back to 1979, when the Iranian Revolution fundamentally altered the relationship between Tehran and Washington. The overthrow of the Shah, a key US ally, and the establishment of the Islamic Republic created an ideological chasm that has only deepened over the decades. Iran's controversial nuclear program, which began gaining international attention in the early 2000s, became the focal point of global concern. The international community, led by the United States, imposed increasingly severe sanctions, while Iran continued to advance its nuclear capabilities. Behind the scenes, a shadow war was already underway. Israel, viewing Iran's nuclear ambitions as an existential threat, launched a series of covert operations. These included sophisticated sabotage missions targeting nuclear facilities and the systematic assassination of Iranian nuclear scientists. Each operation escalated tensions and pushed both sides further from any peaceful resolution. The Iran nuclear deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, was signed in 2015 under the Obama administration. However, in 2018, President Trump withdrew the United States from the deal, reimposing sanctions and effectively ending this diplomatic breakthrough.
If the regime continues its nuclear aspirations, it will have bigger problems than it has ever had before. We will be instituting the highest level of economic sanction. Any nation that helps Iran in its quest for nuclear weapons could also be strongly sanctioned by the United States.
The US Treasury has announced it will impose a wider range of sanctions after a 90 and 180-day wind-down period. It will be aimed at Iran's oil sector and transactions with its central bank.
Then came January 2020 and the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani. This targeted killing of Iran's most powerful military commander marked a dramatic escalation. In response to mounting pressure, Iran pivoted decisively toward asymmetric warfare, expanding its influence through proxy groups across the region, while developing increasingly sophisticated military capabilities designed to counter American technological superiority. Let's examine the military chessboard. The United States maintains a formidable presence in the region, with aircraft carriers patrolling the Persian Gulf, advanced missile defense systems deployed across allied nations, and strategic air bases in Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, and Kuwait. This forward deployment represents decades of strategic planning and billions of dollars in military infrastructure. Iran's approach is fundamentally different. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has developed a sophisticated arsenal of ballistic missiles capable of reaching targets across the region. Their drone warfare capabilities have proven remarkably effective, as demonstrated in attacks on Saudi oil facilities. Perhaps most concerning is Iran's growing cyber warfare capabilities and their mastery of asymmetric naval tactics in the narrow waters of the Persian Gulf. But Iran's real strategic advantage lies in its network of proxy forces. Hezbollah in Lebanon, with an estimated 100,000 rockets and missiles, represents a formidable threat to Israel. The Houthis in Yemen have demonstrated their ability to disrupt international shipping and strike deep into Saudi territory. Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria provide Tehran with the ability to project power across the region without direct confrontation. The cyber dimension of this conflict is often overlooked but equally significant. The United States and Israel have conducted sophisticated cyber attacks against Iranian infrastructure, most notably the Stuxnet virus that damaged Iranian nuclear centrifuges. Iran has responded with its own cyber capabilities targeting American financial institutions and critical infrastructure. When we map out the range of Iranian missiles and the locations of American military assets, a sobering picture emerges. Nearly every U.S. base in the region falls within range of Iranian ballistic missiles, while Iran's proxy forces provide multiple avenues for retaliation that could draw the entire region into conflict. The potential triggers for escalation are numerous and deeply concerning. Recent Israeli airstrikes in Syria, targeting Iranian weapons shipments and personnel, have become routine. Iranian ships and tankers have been involved in mysterious incidents in international waters. Each of these events carries the potential for miscalculation. U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria face regular attacks from Iranian-backed proxy militias. These attacks, while often causing minimal damage, represent a constant source of tension. American commanders must decide daily whether to respond forcefully or show restraint, knowing that either choice carries significant risks. The Strait of Hormuz represents perhaps the most dangerous flashpoint of all. This narrow waterway, through which 20% of the world's oil passes, could be blocked by Iran in the event of conflict. Such an action would trigger a global energy crisis and likely force an immediate American military response. The scenarios for miscalculation are endless. A drone shoot-down, an intelligence failure, or a rogue attack by a proxy group could spiral rapidly out of control. Consider the events of 2019. Iran shot down an American drone, tanker attacks occurred in the Gulf, and regional retaliation cycles began that brought us closer to war than many realized at the time. Each incident creates precedent and expectation. When Iran attacks, the United States is expected to respond. When America responds, Iran feels compelled to escalate. This action-reaction cycle has its own dangerous momentum. This is not simply a bilateral conflict between the United States and Iran. Russia's evolving military and political support for Iran has been accelerated by the Ukraine conflict. Moscow sees Iran as a valuable partner in challenging American global dominance, providing advanced weapons systems and diplomatic cover. China's role is equally significant. Beijing's growing energy dependence on Iran, formalized through a 25-year strategic partnership agreement worth hundreds of billions of dollars, gives Iran a powerful economic lifeline. China's support helps Iran weather American sanctions while providing Beijing with reliable energy supplies. Israel's proactive security doctrine adds another layer of complexity. Israeli leaders have made clear they will not allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons, regardless of American preferences. This commitment to preemptive strikes, combined with Israel's sophisticated intelligence operations and reliance on U.S. support, creates additional pressure points. The Gulf Arab states find themselves in a difficult position. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Bahrain are deeply wary of Iranian regional ambitions, but they're also cautious about pushing for a war that could devastate their economies and infrastructure. Their oil facilities, financial centers, and populations would be primary targets in any regional conflict. NATO's stance remains crucial. A potential US-Iran conflict could destabilize global alliances, particularly if European allies refuse to support American military action. The alliance's unity, already tested by various global challenges, could face its greatest strain in decades. Despite the military posturing and escalating rhetoric, diplomatic channels remain open. Oman and Qatar continue to serve as mediators, facilitating indirect talks between Washington and Tehran. These back-channel communications have prevented several potential escalations and represent perhaps our best hope for avoiding conflict. The future of the JCPOA revival remains uncertain. The United States, European Union, and Iranian negotiators have different positions and priorities. American domestic politics complicate any potential agreement, while Iranian hardliners view negotiations with deep suspicion. Domestic pressures on both sides cannot be ignored. The U.S. election cycle creates political incentives for tough rhetoric, while Iranian power struggles between hardliners and moderates influence Tehran's decision-making. Neither leadership can appear weak in the face of external pressure. Public sentiment in both countries reveals war fatigue and economic strain. Americans are weary of Middle Eastern conflicts, while Iranians face severe economic hardship due to sanctions. This popular reluctance to embrace conflict provides space for diplomatic solutions. The United Nations, while often criticized for ineffectiveness, continues to play a role in monitoring compliance and facilitating dialogue. The potential for new multilateral agreements or ceasefire frameworks exists, but requires political will from all parties. As we assess this dangerous standoff, we see a strategic balance characterized by high tension and high risk, but also mutual hesitation. Neither side wants a full-scale war, yet both feel compelled to demonstrate strength and resolve. The key variables that will determine our future include leadership decisions in Washington and Tehran, the ability of both sides to control their proxy forces, the stability of global energy markets, and the effectiveness of international diplomacy. Each of these factors could tip the balance toward either escalation or de-escalation. We are indeed walking a tightrope. One misstep, one miscalculation, one rogue action could spark a regional war with global consequences. The human cost would be enormous, the economic impact devastating, and the geopolitical ramifications would reshape the Middle East for generations. But diplomacy still has a chance. History shows us that even the most intractable conflicts can find peaceful resolution when leaders choose dialogue over destruction. The question is whether we have the wisdom and courage to step back from the brink. The stakes could not be higher. The choices made in the coming months will determine whether we witness the outbreak of a devastating regional war or the beginning of a new chapter in Middle Eastern diplomacy. Subscribe for in-depth, real-time updates on global conflicts and strategy, because understanding these critical moments is essential for all of us.